For nearly 3 decades, Canada held a quiet but powerful position in the North American economy. Canada was the largest buyer of American goods, year after year. But that just changed. New U.S. Census data shows that Mexico has overtaken Canada as the top buyer of U.S. products in 2025. Between January and August, Mexico imported $226.4 billion worth of American goods. Canada imported $225.6 billion. The difference is small, but economically, politically, and for everyday Canadian households, this shift matters far more than it appears, because this isn't just about trade rankings. It's about prices. It's about supply chains. It's about jobs. And it's about how vulnerable Canada is to decisions made in Washington, especially with the USMCA trade agreement up for review in 2026. Today we'll break down what actually changed, why Mexico is rising so fast, what this means for Canadian prices, and what households should expect next. Let's start with the facts. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Mexico has surpassed Canada as the largest buyer of American goods. This didn't happen overnight. In 2024, Mexico already became the United States' top overall trading partner, ahead of both Canada and China. But 2025 marks a turning point. For nearly 30 years, Canada was the top destination for U.S. exports. Now that position belongs to Mexico. This does not mean Canada stopped trading with the U.S. Canada remains America's second largest trading partner. But in global trade, relative importance matters. When demand rises, when shortages appear, and when political pressure builds, countries with greater weight often receive priority. That's where the consequences begin. So why is Mexico rising so quickly? There are three main reasons. First, manufacturing shifts. Over the last decade, companies have moved production closer to the United States. Mexico offers lower labor costs, geographic proximity, and faster shipping than Asia. For many U.S. companies, Mexico has become the ideal balance between cost and speed. Second, supply chain reliability. After the pandemic, businesses stopped chasing the cheapest option. They started chasing the most reliable one. Mexico benefits from shorter supply chains, fewer disruptions, and faster turnaround times. Reliability now matters as much as price. Third, political calculation. Trade with Mexico is seen in Washington as less politically sensitive than trade with China, and more flexible than trade with Canada. Mexico allows the U.S. to keep production in North America while reducing global risk. Canada, meanwhile, faces tariffs, disputes, and policy uncertainty, especially during political transitions in the U.S. Now let's bring this home. Why should Canadians care? Because Canada relies heavily on U.S. goods, especially for winter produce, fuel and gasoline, vehicles, electronics, appliances, and packaged food. When Canada becomes a smaller customer in the U.S. system, several things can change. First, delivery speed. U.S. suppliers may prioritize larger buyers and higher volume contracts. That can mean longer wait times for Canada during periods of high demand. Second, pricing pressure. When demand spikes, top buyers often receive better pricing. Secondary buyers absorb higher costs. Those costs eventually appear on store shelves. Third, supply allocation. During shortages, suppliers decide who gets what first. Being second instead of first makes a difference. This shift is not entirely negative. There is potential upside. As reliance on U.S. goods becomes riskier, Canadian companies may diversify. They may source more from Europe, Asia, and Mexico. Diversification can reduce dependency, increase competition, and stabilize prices over time. This shift may also encourage more domestic production, more Canadian manufacturing, more local supply chains. That process will be slow, but long-term, it could strengthen Canada's economy. Still, the risks are real. Canada's declining share of U.S. trade means less bargaining power. That matters most as USMCA approaches its 2026 review. Lower leverage means greater exposure to tariffs, price pressure, and political decisions. Transitioning to new suppliers is also expensive. Shipping costs rise, logistics become more complex, prices may fluctuate before supply chains stabilize, and there's the impact on jobs. If Canadian exporters lose market share, wage growth could slow, and household purchasing power could weaken. Canadians should not expect immediate price spikes, but they should expect more volatility, especially for cars, electronics, large appliances, building matter,